Hey everyone, welcome back to Chuck's Pub's Fireside Chat, where Navy history, sea stories, and a little bit of saltwater come together by the fire. Today, we're going to look at one of the U.S. Navy's most revered traditions, the crossing the line ceremony. So if you're a trusty shellback or a slimy pollywog, sit back, enjoy a nice cup of grog, and let's get into this. Crossing the equator may sound like a routine event for any modern Navy ship, but for centuries it's been a rite of passage, a moment that separates the rookies known as Pollywogs from the seasoned sailors known as shellbacks. Back in the days of wooden ships and iron men, this ceremony was no small thing. It was designed to test young sailors on their first voyage into the open sea, both physically and mentally, before being accepted into what's known as the Ancient Order of the Deep. Now, if you were a pollywog, someone who hadn't crossed the equator before, your shipmates had plans for you, and let's just say they weren't exactly handing out lays and coconut drinks. You'd be put through a gauntlet of gags, challenges, and sometimes some downright embarrassing tasks. It was all done in good humor mostly, and when it was all over, you'd emerge as a shellback, officially recognized by King Neptune himself as one of the trusty sailors of the deep. The ceremony centers around King Neptune, the mythical ruler of the seas, who comes aboard to preside over the events. He's often joined by his royal court, Davy Jones, the royal baby, and a handful of other sea creatures, all played by veteran shellbacks. The Pollywogs have to stand trial before King Neptune's court, accused of being unworthy sailors. Their punishment? A series of hilarious challenges. They might crawl through puddles, sing silly songs, or get a symbolic cleansing with seawater. At the end of it all, they kneel before King Neptune, pledge their loyalty to the sea, and are reborn as trusty shellbacks. And to mark the occasion, each sailor receives a shellback certificate, a badge of honor they'll carry with pride for the rest of their naval career. Now, some of those early ceremonies were a little rough around the edges. What turned out to be test of endurance or toughness ended up being a full-fledged street fight. Fortunately, the Navy has ensured that this ceremony has evolved over the years. These days, it's completely voluntary and focused on fun, morale, and camaraderie, not pain or humiliation. The goal is to bring the crew together, celebrate a naval milestone, and carry on a tradition that's been around for hundreds of years. Modern navies all over the world still celebrate this ancient tradition, and it doesn't stop at the equator. There are even special versions for sailors who cross the Antarctic Circle or the International Date Line, such as myself, which means you are a golden shellback. Each variation is a badge of pride, a reminder of where you've been, and the brotherhood and sisterhood you share with those who've gone before you. So why does it matter? Well, like many old naval traditions, the crossing the line ceremony isn't just about the destination, it's about the journey. It's about building trust, teamwork, and a sense of belonging that sticks with sailors long after their time at sea. When you've stood before King Neptune, laughed until your sides hurt, and shared that experience with your shipmates, you're part of something that connects generations of sailors all the way back to the age of sail. In my case, I went through my crossing line ceremony back in 1989 when I was on board the USS Buchanan. Yep, the same ship I did my third-class midshipman cruise on. Anyways, the ship was on its way to Australia, and on the day of the ceremony, myself and all my fellow Pollywogs were rudely awoken at midnight and told to get our uniforms on, but we had to put them on inside out and backwards. Once that was done, we were told to get on our hands and knees, and we spent the next 6 to 7 hours crawling around the ship, going through numerous obstacles, getting yelled at, getting hit with shillelaghs, which are cut-off fire hoses, and eventually brought in front of King Neptune's royal court to beg for our mercy to be accepted into his realm. Now, during the whole situation, I think the most unpleasant event that I had to do was on the flight deck of the ship. They had an empty toilet seat, and inside was week-old garbage, and at the bottom was a dead flying fish. I was told in order to be accepted into the realm, I had to put my head inside the toilet seat and come out with the dead flying fish in my mouth. Thankfully, I did it without throwing up all over myself. It was a fun experience, a little gross, but I still have really good memories of that time on board Buchanan. So whether you're a trusty shellback or you're hearing about this for the very first time, one thing's for sure, the crossing line ceremony is the Navy's most unforgettable traditions. Until next time, this is Charlie. Thanks for joining me at Chuck's Pub Fireside Chat. Cheers!